There are beach towns in America where you can buy an actual house for less than a used Honda Civic. Not a shack, not a meth lab. An actual livable home with walls and a roof near the ocean. And nobody is talking about them because they are not Instagram-famous destinations. They are forgotten coastlines where the economy tanked, young people left, and now entire houses sit empty waiting for anyone willing to show up. Everyone thinks beachfront living costs millions. Coastal property is for tech bros and retirees who made smart investments, right? Wrong. Scattered along America's coastlines are tiny beach towns so economically depressed, so far from major cities, and so desperate for new residents that housing prices make you wonder if someone accidentally added an extra zero in the wrong direction. These are real places with actual beaches where you can buy property for what most people spend on rent in 6 months. We are counting down 15 tiny beach towns where you can actually afford oceanfront living. Some have homes under $20,000. Others offer houses cheaper than a year of college. And one place has waterfront property that costs less than a decent wedding. One town has more pelicans than people under 40. Another is so isolated that your closest Walmart is an hour away, and you learn to plan shopping trips like military operations. And yes, several places have actual houses listed for under $50,000. But the catch is your job prospects are limited to whatever you can do remotely or whatever the 3 local businesses are hiring for, which they probably are not. Think beach living is only for the wealthy? Cool. Let us see if you are ready for places where coastal homes are cheaper than most cars, where economic collapse created buyer opportunities, and where your biggest concern becomes whether you can actually make a living after you buy that ridiculously cheap beach house. Like this video if you have ever realized the best real estate deals require trade-offs that Instagram influencers do not mention. Subscribe because knowing where to find cheap coastal property might save you decades of financial stress, assuming you can handle the isolation. Let's break it down. Number 15, Port Arthur, Texas. Port Arthur will sell you a house within walking distance of the Gulf Coast for less than a basic sedan, assuming you can handle petrochemical plants as your skyline and hurricane evacuation routes as regular knowledge. Welcome to Southeast Texas, where coastal living meets industrial reality. Port Arthur sits right on the Gulf with about 55,000 people, down from over 66,000 in the 1980s. This place was built on oil refining, and that industry still dominates the landscape and the economy. The beaches are not pristine Caribbean fantasies. They are Gulf Coast workhorses with brown sand and water that is more functional than beautiful. But you are near the ocean, and housing costs are almost offensively cheap. Here is what Port Arthur costs. Median home price is around $82,000, with many properties listed under $50,000. Homes near the water can be found for $30,000 to $60,000 for older properties needing work. The cost of living is about 20% below the national average. Property taxes are reasonable, and utilities are cheap because Texas energy is abundant. The job market revolves around petrochemical plants and port operations. If you work in those industries, you are golden. If not, opportunities are limited unless you work remotely. The catch is you are living in an active industrial zone. Refineries dominate the skyline. The smell can be intense depending on wind direction. And you are in serious hurricane territory where evacuation is not optional. It is survival. Hurricane Harvey devastated parts of Port Arthur in 2017, flooding huge sections of the city. Someone who bought there said they got a 3-bedroom house for $45,000 that would cost $400,000 anywhere with better weather. It is near the water, structurally sound, and their mortgage is $320 a month. But twice a year, they watch weather patterns obsessively. The refineries make the sunsets weirdly beautiful and also make them wonder about air quality. In short, Port Arthur offers genuinely cheap coastal living if you can handle industrial surroundings and hurricane reality. Your rent is nothing. Your peace of mind costs something else. Number 14, Algiers, Louisiana. Algiers is technically part of New Orleans, sitting directly across the Mississippi River, but it feels like a forgotten beach town with shotgun houses. So cheap you will think the listings are typos. Algiers has about 43,000 people in a neighborhood that was hit hard by Katrina and has been recovering slowly ever since. You are technically on the river, not the ocean, but the Gulf is close enough that you get coastal weather, seafood culture, and hurricane concerns. Housing is ridiculously affordable. Here is what Algiers costs. Median home price is around $150,000, but you can find older shotgun houses for $30,000 to $70,000. These are properties that need work but are structurally intact. The cost of living is about 3% below the national average. Property taxes are low, and food costs are reasonable with access to fresh Gulf seafood. The job market is whatever New Orleans offers since you are minutes away by ferry or bridge. Tourism, hospitality, healthcare, and the port provide work. The catch's flood risk is real and constant. You are below sea level in a city that is flooded catastrophically within living memory. Insurance is expensive if you can get it, and the culture is so specific that outsiders sometimes struggle to integrate into neighborhoods where everyone has known each other for generations. Someone who moved there described Algiers as the cheapest way into New Orleans culture. They bought a shotgun house for $55,000 that needed cosmetic work. Their mortgage is under $400. They are a ferry ride from the French Quarter. But every hurricane season, they question life choices while filling sandbags and checking evacuation routes. Flood insurance costs more than their mortgage some months. In short, Algiers offers incredibly cheap housing near water in one of America's most culturally rich cities, assuming you accept flood risks that are not theoretical. Number 13, Cedarville, New Jersey. Cedarville is not technically on the ocean, but it is close to Delaware Bay beaches and offers housing so cheap it qualifies as coastal adjacent with prices that sound like they are from 1975. Cedarville is a tiny community in Cumberland County with under 1,000 people. You are about 20 minutes from bay beaches that are not Miami, but are definitely water. The town is rural, quiet, and economically stagnant in ways that create housing opportunities. Here is what Cedarville costs. Median home price is around $110,000, with older homes available for $40,000 to $70,000. These are small properties, often needing updates, but livable. The cost of living is about 8% below the national average. Property taxes are moderate for New Jersey, which still means higher than most states. The job market is agriculture-based, some light manufacturing, and whatever you can do remotely. Vineland and Millville nearby offer slightly more options but are not economic powerhouses. The catch is you are in rural southern New Jersey, which lacks the glamour of the shore towns but also lacks their costs. Entertainment is limited, winters are cold, and the local economy has been struggling for decades. One person who relocated said they bought a 2-bedroom house for $50,000 cash. It needed work, but it was structurally sound. They are near beaches without paying beach prices, but their social life is whatever they create because there is not much happening locally. Jobs require remote work because local options paid too little to matter. In short, Cedarville offers cheap housing near water for people willing to embrace rural isolation in exchange for affordability. Number 12, Belhaven, North Carolina. Belhaven sits on the Pungo River near Pamlico Sound with about 1,600 people and housing that costs less than a year of groceries in some cities. Welcome to the Inner Banks, where waterfront living is affordable because nobody outside the region knows these towns exist. Belhaven is tiny, quiet, and economically challenged. It is a fishing and farming community where young people leave and houses sit empty. Here is what Belhaven costs. Median home price is around $95,000, with many properties under $60,000. Waterfront homes can be found for $80,000 to $120,000, prices that would be millions elsewhere. The cost of living is about 15% below the national average. Property taxes are low and utilities are cheap. The job market is fishing, agriculture, healthcare at the small local hospital, and not much else. Remote work is your best bet unless you're retiring. The catch is this is rural eastern North Carolina. You are an hour from anywhere significant. Medical care beyond basics requires travel. And hurricane risk is real since you are on the water in a region that gets hit regularly. Someone who bought a waterfront home said they paid $95,000 for a place that would be $800,000 in Florida. They wake up to water views every morning. Their mortgage is $650, but they drive an hour for anything beyond basic shopping. When hurricanes threaten, they are in evacuation zones wondering if cheap was worth it. In short, Belhaven offers waterfront living at prices that are almost unbelievable if you accept rural isolation and storm risks. Number 11, Eastport, Maine. Eastport is the easternmost city in the United States, sitting on Moose Island right on the water, with about 1,300 people and housing that costs less than most people think. Welcome to Down East Maine, where the ocean is everywhere, the weather is brutal, and real estate is cheap because isolation is intense. Eastport was once a major sardine canning center. That industry died and the population collapsed. What remains is a beautiful, historic, economically struggling town with incredible ocean access. Here is what Eastport costs. Median home price is around $120,000, with many older homes listed for $50,000 to $90,000. Waterfront properties can be found under $150,000. The cost of living is about 5% below the national average. Property taxes are moderate, and heating costs are high because winters are long and cold. The job market is limited to fishing, aquaculture, tourism in the summer, and remote work. The Canadian border is right there, offering some cross-border opportunities. The catch is you are 4 hours from Portland and even further from Boston. Winters are harsh with heavy snow and bitter cold. The isolation is real, and the economy offers few local opportunities. One person who moved there said Eastport is stunningly beautiful with ocean views everywhere and housing they could actually afford. They paid $75,000 for a house that needed updating but was solid. But winter is 6 months of cold, darkness, and shoveling. The nearest major medical facility is hours away. They love it, but admit it is not for everyone. In short, Eastport offers cheap coastal living in one of America's most remote and beautiful corners if you can handle serious isolation and brutal winters. Number 10, St. Marks, Florida. St. Marks sits where the river meets the Gulf with about 300 people and housing so cheap you will wonder if Florida real estate markets forgot this town exists. Welcome to Florida's Forgotten Coast, where the Gulf is accessible, the tourists are rare, and property costs are shockingly low. St. Marks is tiny, historic, and economically quiet. It is not Destin. It is not Miami. It is a fishing village where life moves slowly. Here is what St. Marks costs. Median home price is around $140,000, but older homes can be found for $60,000 to $100,000. You are minutes from the Gulf with access to some of Florida's least crowded beaches. The cost of living is about 12% below the national average. Property taxes are low, and Florida has no state income tax. The job market is fishing, tourism in nearby Tallahassee, and state government jobs. Remote work is viable if you have decent internet. The catch is you are in a flood zone. Hurricanes are a regular threat. The town is so small that amenities are minimal, and the summer heat and humidity are oppressive. One person who relocated said they bought a home for $70,000 that was move-in ready. They are near the Gulf, surrounded by nature preserves, and living cheaply. But hurricane season is stressful. Flood insurance is mandatory and expensive, and the town is so small that you drive 30 minutes for groceries beyond basics. In short, St. Marks offers cheap Gulf Coast living in a tiny historic town if you can handle hurricane risks and serious rural quiet. Number 9, Port Lavaca, Texas. Port Lavaca sits on Matagorda Bay with about 12,000 people and housing that costs a fraction of what most coastal towns charge. Welcome to the Texas coast where the beaches are functional, the economy is fishing and petrochemicals, and real estate is affordable because this is not South Padre. Port Lavaca is a working town. The bay offers fishing, boating, and water access without the spring break crowds. Here is what Port Lavaca costs. Median home price is around $130,000, with many homes under $100,000. Properties near the water can be found for $80,000 to $150,000. The cost of living is about 10% below the national average. Property taxes are moderate for Texas, and utilities are reasonable. The job market is fishing, oil and gas support, healthcare, and education. Remote work is possible with decent internet. The catch is hurricanes are a constant reality. Port Lavaca was hit directly by Hurricane Carla in 1961, and the town knows what storms can do. The industrial presence is real, and the beaches are not postcard perfect. Someone who moved there said they bought a 3-bedroom house for $95,000 near the water. Their mortgage is under $700. They fish from their own dock. But every hurricane season, they watch the Gulf nervously. The summer heat is intense, and the town is quiet to the point where entertainment is whatever you create. In short, Port Lavaca offers affordable coastal Texas living if you accept hurricane reality and industrial surroundings. Number 8. Lubec, Maine. Lubec is the easternmost town in the contiguous United States, sitting right on the water across from Canada, with about 1,300 people and housing that costs less than a decent car. Welcome to the end of America where the ocean is everywhere. The lobsters are fresh, and the economy has been struggling since the sardine canneries closed decades ago. Lubec is stunningly beautiful with rugged coastline and constant water views. It is also isolated and economically limited. Here is what Lubec costs. Median home price is around $140,000, but many older homes sell for $50,000 to $90,000. Waterfront properties can be found under $200,000. Price is unthinkable in most coastal markets. The cost of living is about 6% below the national average. Property taxes are moderate, but heating costs are high due to long winters. The job market is lobstering, aquaculture, summer tourism, and remote work. The Canadian border offers some opportunities. The catch is you are 4+ hours from Portland. Winters are long, dark, and cold. Medical care requires travel, and the isolation is intense with the nearest city being hours away. One person who relocated said Lubec is the most beautiful place they have ever lived. They paid $65,000 for a house with ocean views. But winter is brutal. They are hours from anything. And making a living requires creativity or remote income. In short, Lubec offers incredibly cheap ocean living at the edge of America if you can handle extreme isolation. Number 7. Bayou Batre, Alabama. Bayou Batre sits on the Gulf Coast with about 2,500 people and housing so cheap it feels like the market broke. Welcome Alabama's shrimping capital where the seafood is fresh, the economy is maritime, and real estate is affordable because hurricanes keep prices down. Bayou Batre is a working waterfront town. Shrimp boats line the docks. The culture is deeply tied to fishing. Here is what Bayou Batre costs. Median home price is around $100,000, with many homes under $70,000. You can find properties for $40,000 to $60,000 that are livable with work. The cost of living is about 18% below the national average. Property taxes are low, and utilities are cheap. The job market is shrimping, seafood processing, boat building, and whatever mobile offers 30 minutes away. The catch is hurricane risk is severe. Hurricane Katrina devastated this town in 2005. Flood insurance is expensive, and the economy is tied entirely to seafood, which fluctuates. Someone who moved there said they bought a house for $55,000 that needed cosmetic updates. They are near the Gulf, surrounded by seafood culture and living cheaply. But every hurricane season is terrifying. Insurance costs are high, and the local economy offers limited opportunities outside maritime industries. In short, Bayou Batre offers cheap Gulf living in a working seafood town, if you can handle hurricane reality. Number 6. Chincoteague, Virginia. Chincoteague is famous for wild ponies, but offers surprisingly affordable housing for a coastal town with tourism appeal. Chincoteague sits on Virginia's eastern shore, with about 2,900 people. It is near Assateague Island and the Atlantic Ocean. The town is charming, historic, and touristy in summer, dead in winter. Here is what Chincoteague costs. Median home price is around $320,000, which is higher than other towns on this list, but you can find older homes and condos for $150,000 to $200,000 for a town with beach access and tourism infrastructure that is relatively affordable. The cost of living is about 8% above the national average. Property taxes are moderate, and utilities are reasonable. The job market is tourism-based: restaurants, shops, hospitality, and fishing. Winter offers few opportunities, unless you work remotely. The catch is the town floods regularly. Sea level rise is affecting the area, and the economy is entirely seasonal, booming in summer and dying in winter. One person who moved there said Chincoteague is beautiful with actual tourist amenities unlike other cheap beach towns. They bought a condo for $175,000. But the town empties after Labor Day. Work is seasonal, and flooding is becoming more frequent and severe. In short, Chincoteague offers relatively affordable coastal living with charm and tourism infrastructure if you can handle seasonal economies and increasing flood risks. Number 5. Moss Point, Mississippi. Moss Point sits where the Pascagoula River meets the Gulf with about 13,000 people and housing that costs almost nothing. Welcome to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, where the beaches are nearby. The economy is industrial, and real estate is cheap because the area has struggled economically for years. Moss Point is a working-class town. Shipyards and chemical plants provide jobs. The culture is southern and maritime. Here is what Moss Point costs. Median home price is around $90,000, with many properties under $60,000. You can find houses for $30,000 to $50,000 that need work but are structurally sound. The cost of living is about 22% below the national average, one of the cheapest in the country. Property taxes are low and utilities are cheap. The job market is shipbuilding, petrochemicals, and whatever Pascagoula offers nearby. Remote work is viable with decent internet. The catch is you are in Hurricane Alley. Katrina destroyed huge sections of the coast. The industrial presence affects air quality, and the local economy is limited. Someone who bought there said they paid $45,000 for a 3-bedroom house that needed updating. Their mortgage is under $350. They are near the Gulf and living incredibly cheaply. But hurricanes are a constant threat. The industrial landscape is not scenic, and job opportunities are limited outside specific industries. In short, Moss Point offers some of the cheapest coastal living in America if you accept hurricane risks and industrial surroundings. Number 4. Port St. Joe, Florida. Port St. Joe sits on the Florida Panhandle with about 3,400 people and housing that is surprisingly affordable for Florida beachfront. Welcome to Forgotten Coast, where the beaches are beautiful, the tourists are fewer, and real estate has not exploded like the rest of Florida. Port St. Joe is quiet, historic, and economically modest. The town was devastated by Hurricane Michael in 2018, which pushed prices down. Here is what Port St. Joe costs. Median home price is around $250,000, but you can find homes for $120,000 to $180,000, especially properties needing post-hurricane repairs. The cost of living is about 5% below the national average. Property taxes are low, and Florida has no state income tax. The job market is tourism, fishing, and retail. Remote work is your best option for higher income. The catch is hurricane risk is extreme. Michael was a direct hit. Flood insurance is expensive, and the town is small with limited amenities. Someone who relocated post-Michael said they bought a house for $140,000 that needed work. They are blocks from beautiful beaches, but rebuilding has been slow. Every storm season is stressful, and the town lacks the infrastructure of bigger coastal cities. In short, Port St. Joe offers relatively affordable Florida Panhandle living with beautiful beaches, if you can handle hurricane reality and small-town limitations. Number 3. Eureka, California. Eureka sits on Humboldt Bay with about 27,000 people and offers surprisingly affordable coastal living for California. Welcome to far northern California, where the ocean is cold, the redwoods are massive, and real estate has not followed the rest of the state into insanity. Eureka was a logging and fishing town. Those industries declined and the economy struggled. Housing stayed affordable because job opportunities are limited. Here is what Eureka costs. Median home price is around $380,000, which sounds high until you realize it is California with ocean access. You can find older homes for $200,000 to $300,000. The cost of living is about 5% above the national average, cheap for California. Property taxes follow California rates, which are moderate due to Prop 13. The job market is healthcare, education, tourism, and marijuana cultivation since legalization. Remote work is viable if you can handle slower internet in some areas. The catch is you are 5 hours from San Francisco and isolated from major metros. The weather is cold, foggy, and rainy most of the year, and the local economy offers limited high-paying opportunities. Someone who moved there said Eureka is stunningly beautiful with Victorian homes and ocean access they could actually afford in California. They paid $280,000 for a house that would be $1.5 million in the Bay Area. But the weather is depressing 9 months a year. Jobs are limited, and the isolation is real. In short, Eureka offers affordable California coastal living if you can handle cold, foggy weather and economic limitations. Number 2, Crisfield, Maryland. Crisfield calls itself the crab capital of the world, sitting on the Chesapeake Bay with about 2,500 people and housing that costs almost nothing. Welcome to Maryland's Eastern Shore, where the bay is everywhere. The seafood is incredible, and the economy has been dying slowly for decades. Crisfield was a major seafood hub. The industry declined. People left. Houses sit empty. Here is what Crisfield costs. Median home price is around $110,000, but you can find homes for $30,000 to $70,000. Waterfront properties are available under $150,000. The cost of living is about 12% below the national average. Property taxes are moderate for Maryland. The job market is crabbing, oystering, seafood processing, and whatever you can do remotely. Tourism is minimal. The catch is the town is economically depressed. Young people leave. Infrastructure is aging. And sea level rise is affecting the area, with flooding becoming more common. Someone who moved there said they bought a waterfront home for $85,000 that would cost $600,000 anywhere desirable. They are on the Chesapeake eating crabs. They catch themselves. But the town feels like it is slowly dying. Job opportunities are almost non-existent, and flooding is a growing concern. In short, Crisfield offers incredibly cheap a living if you can handle economic decline and rising waters. Number 1, Cairo, Illinois. Cairo sits where the Ohio River meets the Mississippi. Technically not ocean, but offering waterfront living, so cheap it tops this list at almost free. Cairo has about 2,000 people, down from 15,000 in its peak. This town is economically devastated. Entire blocks sit abandoned. Houses sell for $5,000 to $20,000. You are not near the ocean, but you are surrounded by rivers with waterfront property that costs less than a used motorcycle. Here is what Cairo costs. Median home price is around $50,000, but many properties sell for under $20,000. Some houses are listed for under $10,000. The cost of living is about 25% below the national average. Property taxes are extremely low because property has almost no value. The job market is nearly non-existent. The town has been dying for decades. Remote work is your only real option. The catch is Cairo is one of the most economically depressed towns in America. Infrastructure is crumbling. Services are minimal. And the town feels post-apocalyptic in sections. Someone who bought property there said they paid $8,000 for a house that needed total renovation. They are on the river with waterfront access. But the town is heartbreaking. There are no jobs, few services, and a sense of abandonment everywhere. In short, Cairo offers the cheapest waterfront property in America because the town is dying and nobody wants to be there. Would you buy a beach house for under $50,000 if it meant living somewhere economically struggling and potentially isolated? Or do you need job opportunities and infrastructure more than cheap real estate? These 15 towns are real. The prices are accurate, and they prove coastal living is possible if you're willing to accept trade-offs that most people are not.